Hello again and welcome to another edition of Newsmaker of the Week. I'm Leon Worden and I'm pleased to welcome this week's Newsmaker, the Superintendent of the Castaic Union School District, Steve Doyle. Welcome.
Thank you, Leon. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to SCB TV. You've never, not only have you not been on the show before, but you've never even been here before.
I know, and I had to find the bat door, the bat cave door.
Yeah, we don't really have too well marked. We like to stay a little under the radar. But you know, time flies regardless of whether you're having fun, so it's probably longer than I think. How long have you been at the helm of Castaic Union School District?
Well, it's about a year and a half. February will be 2 years,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't feel quite so bad. I mean, a year and a half, you know, yeah. But how you liking it so far?
Love it. What a great community, great families we have out there, amazing staff. You know, our staff's been super resilient through many challenges, and I'm just so proud to work out there.
Well, as you know, SCB TV, one of the first things that always comes to my mind when I think of the Castaic schools, Castaic Middle School, and the outstanding video program that you've got there. I mean, it's really something else. And I understand that there is something relating to that program that you want to talk about.
Yeah, I do. Our CMS TV program is a career pathway at the middle school. They've won numerous awards over the years, and they annually participate in the Student Television Network convention. This year it happens to be in Nashville, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Anyways, they submitted a grant through Farmers Insurance and have been selected as one of 15 schools across the country that are up for a $100,000 grant. And in their grant, they wrote that it would be to upgrade all of their equipment. Uh-huh. And also, as a partnership with the community, they'll provide public service announcements for some nonprofits, in particular the Castaic Animal Shelter, that we have a club that partners with.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, it doesn't surprise me the Castaic Middle School video program, or broadcast journalism program, or whatever you're calling it this year, is one of 15 tops in the nation. But how, I know there's some way that our viewing audience can help this program win that $100,000. How's that?
Yes, so of the 15 finalists, they're going to select 5 schools, and it's going to be based on a popular vote. So a week from Friday, on the 29th of September, voting will go live. We're hoping that all of our community can rally behind and vote for Castaic for this prestigious award. The voting will take place for 30 consecutive days, mm-hmm. So we need everybody to vote every day. But our website has all the information. We're getting flyers out. We're broadcasting on social media. So yeah, or you can go directly to Farmers Insurance website, and it's a Thank Teachers grant program.
Okay, so if we go to Castaic Union School District website, what's that website?
CastaicUSD.com.
.com. Okay.
Yep.
And when does the voting start?
September 29th.
September 29th. And I just want to make a point that, you know, if you're watching this a rerun in 2018 or 2019, we're talking about September of 2017, where we are now.
Yes.
And another reason I bring that up is because I wanted to say last week, and really into this week, Castaic High School. It's the Heart District. I know that confuses some people. It's not the Castaic Union School District's school that's being built there in Castaic, the high school that's being built. It's the William S. Hart Union High School District's high school. But that's going to have an impact on Castaic community. And I'm wondering, you know, the walls, last week most of the walls went up. They might even be up by right now. It's happening, folks. And I'm curious to know what you see of how that's going to change the environment, the climate in Castaic. I mean, people obviously must have some strong feelings about getting their own high school.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're really excited for our kids to have our own high school in the area, and I know it's been a little bit of a political issue, and it's been something in the works for many years, or promised to the community. So we've been working directly with the Heart District so that our middle school that will feed that high school, mm-hmm. we have pathways that align to the programs that they're constructing over there. I had the opportunity, it's been a little over a year now, to tour the facility up there, or what was mm-hmm. you know, some of the infrastructure at the time, and I've seen through the drone videos that it's grown quite a bit. It looks like an amazing facility, and I think it's a great opportunity for our kids in our community to have a high school in their area. And you know, Hart's going to have some challenges with deciding because, you know, now we have most of our kids feed into West Ranch and Valencia, so how that's decided. But we're excited for the opportunity, and we hope that we can partner and our middle school teachers and staff can work in conjunction with the high school staff.
And they won't be disrupting, you know, kids who are already going, maybe families, maybe siblings or whatever, but they won't be disrupting, you know, kids who are already going to West Ranch because they're going to open with the 9th grade, and I forget what year the Castaic High School is going to open.
2019 in the fall is the last we've heard.
Okay, so that'll open with 9th graders. So if somebody, if a kid's in the 10th grade, they're not going to all of a sudden be moved over to Castaic. They'll get to continue with the school that they've been going to and graduate from there, and that's. You know, and that's kind of the way we've pretty much always done the high schools here. And you know, I noticed that from that drone video from Randy Rage, the builder's drone video, that there's already a performing arts center at Castaic High School that's taking shape. And how do you talk about articulated curriculum or I don't remember what word you used. We used to call it articulated curriculum, but how do you see kids who are learning what they're learning now, that translating into them then being able to use that performing arts center?
Well, we hope, you know, one of the things we started that was really innovative last year was a drone technology program, ironically, for kids. And so with that curriculum and program, if that's something that then when students go on to the Castaic High School, they can then take it another step in 9th and 10th, you know, because that's a career field that's really unexplored yet. And it's a real great opportunity. Our elementary school, Castaic Elementary, is an arts integration school. So with that performing arts piece, how can we tie that into our middle school? So all of the programs that they're having and the buildings that they're constructing for those programs, if we can work together with Hart, we can start them down in our elementary, so there's a pipeline to help to work seamlessly for our community.
And you know, you mentioned an arts integration school, and you're not the first superintendent recently to sit in that chair and talk about an arts integration school, which I find interesting because, you know, it was just a few years ago really that everybody said, okay, wait a minute, we're going to focus on STEM. You know, we're going to focus on science and math and engineering, and the arts kind of, the idea was, or the idea that a lot of people got, was that maybe the arts aren't so important when you're really focusing on the science and math stuff. Why is it that we're starting to see that come back, the arts come back? Well, if that's even an accurate characterization. Did they ever actually leave?
Well, it depends on. In some places they did, in some places they didn't. You know, part of that was driven by No Child Left Behind and the focus on English arts and math and testing and test scores. So with that and punishments, so to speak, or penalties being tied to lack of performance, you know, some of that arts and even social studies and science, those things went away. And so they really concentrated on getting those math and language arts scores up. Now it's very different. And No Child Left Behind's been reauthorized. And now we also recognize and believe that children need a whole child education approach, right? They need exposure to the arts, to sports and athletics and clubs. All of those draw that engagement and that connectedness to the school for children, not just, you know, thumbing through a math book or a language arts textbook. So that whole child focus and the needs for arts and exposure is definitely, it didn't leave in many places, and in Castaic, we had a brief hiatus with some budget cuts and some challenges we had financially, but I'm proud to say it's back in full force. All of our schools have some form of arts program and connection to that field.
I want to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to find out whatever did happen with those financial challenges that you'd had a couple years ago.
Families come in all sizes and shapes. Sometimes your friends are your family by choice, or sometimes you're just stuck with Uncle Charles. But what we know is that you want to protect the people that are close to you, but the flu can unravel everything. Your flu vaccine protects you and your family. No matter what draws your family together, protect yourself, protect your family. Everyone needs a flu vaccine.
Introducing a new day of the week. Someday. Now, everything you were going to do someday is on the calendar. Want to retire someday? You'll really want this. A My Social Security account at socialsecurity.gov. You can estimate your future benefits and manage current benefits online. Millions of people have a My Social Security account. Get yours today, because someday is here at socialsecurity.gov.
Welcome back. We're here with Steve Doyle, a newbie to the show, and been at Castaic Union School District, you said, a year and a half now, and I think it was longer than that ago, I think, if I remember correctly, that we were reading about how Castaic had some what seemed to be serious financial troubles. That was before your time, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And what, that job fell on you to pull it all out?
Well, that goes back to 2014. By the time I started in February 2016, a lot of the heavy lifting and legwork had been done in the district. They created, the county came in, Los Angeles County Office of Education came in with some fiscal advisors. They created a fiscal stabilization plan.
I couldn't remember if it was county or state.
Yeah, it was the county. And unfortunately, you know, the district had to go through some significant layoffs of staff, both certificated teachers, administrators, as well as our classified staff. So they made significant reductions. So what we've done since then is I'm happy to report that we're very fiscally on solid footing right now. And part of that is because we've been really diligent about monitoring both our attendance, looking at our numbers coming in, because as you know, we're funded based on the student seats in our classrooms.
Right.
And conversely, we've been able to, as we've continued in declining enrollment, we've been able to reduce staff through attrition. So as people leave, we've just not refilled positions. So we haven't had to do any additional layoffs, but we've been able to balance our budget and keep moving forward. It doesn't mean it doesn't come without some challenges. You know, I tip my hat to all the staff that stuck around and stayed in Castaic. They're very resilient people, and they have a passion and a caring for that community. And everybody's had to roll up their sleeves and work a little harder and pick up the load as those reductions were done. But we're happy that we've finally stabilized. Matter of fact, last year was the first year in over 10 years we were able to give an ongoing raise to our employees. So those folks not only weathered the storm, but they did it without any extra compensation, and we really appreciate that. You know, our Board of Trustees has had the foresight to really never put themselves in that position again. So we're constantly monitoring where we are financially and making sure that we don't get in that spot.
Well, what was behind the trouble? I mean, was it because of declining enrollment? Or?
Well, that's a huge factor. So if you go back to 2004, Castaic had over 3,500 kids. Today we have about 2,100 kids. Wow. So a loss of 1,200 to 1,300 students over that time span.
It's just gentrification.
Yeah, and if you don't reduce your expenses along the way concurrently with your loss in revenue, it catches up with you.
You can't carry everybody.
Right.
Yeah. That's a big drop. I mean, you know, you think of the Santa Clarita Valley, including Castaic, as being places where growth happens. And, you know, certainly in the 80s we went through, you know, we had a problem with school overcrowding, and now we've kind of got the opposite situation. You'd probably call it a problem from a dollars and cents standpoint anyway. Yes, we went through a recession, actually a couple of them in the last 20 years. Why did you lose, what, about 33% of the numbers? That seems a lot.
Well, you know, it's always hard to pinpoint, but from some of the data we've got, some of the feedback we've got, is there was a lot of folks during that recession time that actually moved out of state, moved out of California altogether to a place where it was a little cheaper to live.
They didn't abandon their houses.
We also have, yeah, but not necessarily people with kids.
Okay.
And so we also have our community that has started to age out. So when we look at the amount of, say, 8th graders that we exit on to Hart High School versus the amount of incoming, say, TK or kindergarten students, it's almost 100 students less. So those bigger populations, our birth rates are a little bit lower, and we're just not bringing in as many kids. So over time, that's just a natural decline.
And of course, Castaic has long been dealing with the uncertainty of of what's going to happen with respect to growth. I mean, we've been talking about the North Lake build-out since 1992 when it was approved. 1992 is, dang, it's like 25 years ago. And every couple of years, oh, it's going to happen, then it doesn't. It's going to happen. How do you? That must not help with like planning for the future.
No, and everybody has this sense of urgency that we need to have agreements in place and all of this in the now, because the fear is the economy is going to tank out and it'll be shelved again. But the reality is we're probably 4, 5, 6 years away from maybe seeing any impacts of home occupancy and more students in our schools. But as you said, you can't make that decision in the time. You have to plan for. It's probably approximately a 3-year process to plan and build out a school that you need kids for. The North Lake project has been reduced. Originally it was something like 2,900 homes. It's now reduced into a phase 1 and phase 2. The first phase being somewhere in the range of 1,800 homes. That certainly impacts, we have a school up there, but it's not enough to house the impacts from that amount of housing if it's built. We also have the impact of our middle school and how we house our 7th and 8th grade students. So we've been meeting with the developer. We're working with them. Of course, they've got to get through all of their channels. And then, I mean, it's just a monumental task when you look where that development's supposed to go in. That's mountainous, and I don't have the vision to visualize what a planned community would look like there, because it looks like somewhere in Alaska in the rugged terrain. So there's plenty of challenges for sure up there.
And then if Newhall Ranch ever goes, and I say that because the master plan was approved in 2003, and that's another situation where it's going to happen, then it's not. It's going to happen. It's tied up in court, and it's tied up wherever, and somebody's doing something to make it not happen. But Newhall Ranch will have some kind of an impact on you, I would imagine. They're not all going to the Newhall School District, right?
No, it actually impacts Saugus, Newhall, Castaic, and of course Hart. So the landmark project, which will directly impact us, I think it's about 1,800 homes, which will be right at the basin of the foothills there along the 126. We'll definitely need a school in that area to accommodate the students over there. So yeah, we've been having conversations with Newhall Land. 5 points now, make sure I get it correct.
5 points, yeah.
5 points.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
know there was new
still
litigation
exists
filed with our local group here, so we'll see how that plays out. But
Yeah.
again, we have to plan for it happening.
So does this uncertainty, does it weigh on you on a daily basis, or is it just like over here and it's not really something that you think about?
It's something that we think about in the back of our mind, because it's also something that we have hope for, because it allows us to get more students, additional revenue. We never want to get to the point where we have too many facilities and not enough kids.
Right.
So, but it's not something that's pressing right now. It's something we have ongoing dialogue with.
What are the things you're dealing with nowadays? I mean, we've solved all the financial problems, and development happens or it doesn't. What's keeping you busy?
Well, our message, and I have this little bracelet on, Leon. It says "Make Hope Happen," CUSD #. So this was our message that we rolled out at a breakfast this year. And unlike a wish or a fantasy, hope, you actually have strategy. And so for a long time, since the financial decline, our staff was feeling a little overwhelmed and beaten down and hopeless, so to speak. So this year we rolled out the message about having hope. And there's a lot of research on hope and research on productivity for employees if they have a hopeful environment, and also academic gains with students who have optimism and hope. So we talked a lot about this at our kickoff breakfast with all of our employees, and we have this Make Hope Happen theme. It's our hashtag, and so we're putting that out there, and we're just re-inspiring our students to create a hopeful environment for their kids as well. But it starts with us. We can only change ourselves. So I do have a bracelet for you.
Cool.
So you can wear that around and show everybody that you're going to make hope happen for us. So we're really proud of that. That's something we rolled out.
Get over my arthritic fingers here.
And with that, we also did, in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department, we did an active shooter training, which was something to help our staff really feel confident and get some understanding on how to go about that process.
I know there was a little bit of confusion about that on our end, where we thought, oh, they're going to be out there on the campus with guns and everything.
It was a forewarning to the community.
This is what you're actually talking about. It was a meeting. It was a sit-down meeting, as it turned out.
It was their lead trainer was just giving some strategies and
obviously
things.
This is something that weighs on people. Knock on wood, but we haven't faced that situation here. If you needed, I don't know how often you need to assure people that you're taking all the steps necessary to deal with something like that. How would you answer that question if asked?
Well, we annually have comprehensive school safety plans that come to the board that are reviewed and approved by the board. So every year we're constantly making changes. We have drills throughout the year. We want to take it a step further. Captain Lewis has kids in our school, and so we're very honored that we have a partnership with him, and wanting, much like Newhall School District is doing, but some drills that are unannounced, and just to kind of test our strategies and our structures. No setting's perfect, you can't build fences high enough that a bad person couldn't get into, but if at least we can reassure our families that we are prepared, we have a plan, and that we're doing everything in our power to keep kids safe, that helps reassure them.
Yeah. Before I let you go, one thing that we've seen school districts deal with in different ways in the last couple of years is that declining enrollment, both naturally and through charter schools like Einstein. We've seen school districts get out there and recruit, trying to get, come on over to our district because, we're the best and we want to have your kids join us. Sounds to me like, you're concerned about, obviously declining enrollment has been a factor for Castaic. What's your take on that? Are you out there, trying to recruit for Castaic or?
Absolutely. I have a marketing team of one, my executive assistant, but Charmin Ortega, she's masterful at social media, and she's a very skilled writer, and she does a great job. But yeah, we're really trying to get our message out there. Because,
that message being what exactly?
Well, that Castaic's a great place to have your kids. It's a great place with all the same bells and whistles everybody else has, great programs. Probably the difference is that we have smaller schools. All of our schools are under 600 kids. So, you get really one-to-one attention at all of our schools. Everybody's known in the community. I think, some of the hallmark programs, like we talked a little bit about our middle school and our drone program, our Claws Club, which is connection to the animal shelter. All of the great things that we lost in the tough budget times, the school, the staff, the parents have been able to bring back. So we have arts and PE and all the things that were cut in those program years now being funded with parent supports, our PTA partnership, school site budgets. So all of those things are back in the district, and we're humming right along.
And the thing that you have to acknowledge about Castaic is that it perhaps, as it has lessened in most of the rest of the Santa Clarita Valley, you still have that real small town community sense in Castaic that you have like in Agua Dulce or Acton. And that's a different kind of a feeling. And I guess if you came from the Midwest, that kind of maybe brings a little bit of home, doesn't it?
It does. I grew up in a metropolis of 1,300 people with one stoplight. So you're right. When you go to the store, your teachers were there, your principal, your pastor, all of the same folks. So that hometown feel, it's very evident out there.
And it kind of explains the loyalty of the teachers and other faculty to be willing to weather that kind of a storm that Castaic weathered over the last few years.
Yeah, and I think we've also been very responsive to our community. I think my second month in here, we started looking at the calendar, and I know that's been talks as of late, but in our calendar, we have 7th and 8th grade students that obviously feed into the high schools, and our calendar wasn't fully aligned, and so the first thing we did was we surveyed our community and found out that overwhelmingly our community wanted an aligned calendar. It makes sense if I've got kids in Castaic and Hart and they're off, that's a challenge for daycare, for work, etc. So we surveyed our family, that came back overwhelmingly. We sat down and we worked with our associations, our CTA and CSEA bargaining groups, and said, hey, look. The other thing we looked at is we were coming out of a financial challenge. We were losing significant revenue. Those days and weeks where we didn't have the same calendar as Hart. Because a parent, inevitably, if their kid was out of session, their high school student, they kept them out, kept them home. And so we couldn't afford to lose revenue. So we have aligned. We have aligned all but 2 days now, and that is we take the Wednesday before Thanksgiving off, and we end a day later on Friday, June 2nd, I think. So other than that, though, we're fully aligned. So those are the types of decisions we had to make, not only financially, but it was in the best interest of our community. And I think that's why our folks like to be in Castaic.
What's the
because they're
horizon? What's the
responsive.
next big issue you're going to be dealing with?
You know, we're really looking at trying to innovate and take away some of the boundaries and the rules. Don't know what that all looks like yet, but that's where we want to go. We really want to have innovative schools and programs that aren't necessarily traditional cookie cutter look, and to be able to
One
offer
size really
unique
doesn't
programs.
fit all, does it?
No, you know, we've fortunately we've been able to see the documentary. Let's see, it's about High Tech High School and how they've taken away and created cross-curricular venues for high school students, but they also have it for elementaries, and beginning to do innovative things beyond just textbook work and more project-based learning. That's really where we want to get to.
We've already got a great video program at Castaic Middle School, and if people want to help, they do what now?
They need to go online on the 29th and every day thereafter for 30 and vote for Castaic Middle School.
And then gets a if they win, Castaic Middle School gets $100,000 for brand new equipment and
Brand
build a
new
new
equipment.
studio. And
We're going to do
whatever.
PSA
Great.
announcements for local
They've already got a great
nonprofits.
program, and it deserves it. Steve Doyle,
Great.
thank you for joining us, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us. Missed any portion of this program, you can see it again and again on scbtv.com. Check back here, Spectrum Channel 20, AT&T Uverse 99, for another Newsmaker of the Week.